Hi, and welcome to LCAL Low Carb Ancestral Living with Pim Johnson. This episode is a bonus episode and it's actually an interview made with me for the podcast It's Deadly in a Box. And it's Tiffany who is interviewing me during this podcast. And I would really recommend that you head over to her podcast and check a few things out. She's talking about addictions, overcoming different types of addictions, and how she has overcome alcohol addiction. And in just a few weeks, I'm going to interview her back. So she will be back on the channel, and I think that you should check it out.
All right. Hi, Pim. Hi, Pim. Thank you so much for coming on to my podcast today. It is a pleasure to meet and talk with you and connect with you and to be able to learn from you, from your experience. My podcast is called It's Deadly in the Box because I feel like society is always trying to put us in a box based on just all of our labels that we have, whether it be our race, our gender, our sexuality, our social class, our political beliefs, and even our traumas and our obstacles. And I constantly am trying to, I'll find myself in this mentality where I'll be following along with the herd based on whatever I am facing. So, for example, for me, I dealt a lot with my addiction was alcoholism, and I would follow with the herd of what society says how you should deal with it. And it just wasn't really working for me. And that's just an example of a lot of other things in my life where I have to find my own way. And everyone has their own way, I believe, to face life and to experience life. But it's really cool because so many other people share the same journey. And I think, super important to learn from other people and just to hear their stories and share our own as well to see who it can reach. So yeah, I've invited you onto here because you have your story that you spoke with me about. And it is definitely something that I feel like isn't talked about enough, but definitely should be talked about more. And I'm excited to learn from you, and hopefully my listeners as well can take something from today's message. So yeah, if you could just dive right in.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here and being able to share my message. And it's quite interesting how you said, the name of your podcast. And I remember, because I'm a sugar addict, and it took me many, many years before I even realized that there was such a thing, because no one's talking about it. And It's just, why don't you have any discipline? Why can you not stop eating cookies? Why can't you do this? Why can't you be normal? So I grew up thinking that I probably wasn't quite normal. There was something wrong with me because I just obsessively had to have things that were sweet. And I can remember I must have been around 6 years old, and I don't have many memories from my childhood, but my mom is one of these people. She's a real night owl, so she sleeps in. So I used to go up early in the morning, climb up on the chair, reach into the cupboard at the back end of the cupboard where she was hiding the cookies from me, these ballerina cookies. Because she knew that if they were at the front of the cupboard, I would see them and I would just eat them all before she got any. So she was always hiding them. And obviously it had an effect because I could only steal one or two, otherwise she would notice. And I don't think she ever noticed because she never said anything, which is weird. But anyhow, that's kind of abnormal for 6-year-old, thinking back. It's not, why would I do that? But then I grew up eating, toast with butter for breakfast. It's just simple carbs. I used to go home from school to make my own lunch because I didn't like the school lunch, and that would be pasta with salt, nothing else. So I was clearly a carbaholic, and I just loved the carbs. And at that age, you kind of get away with it. You don't feel too bad. But growing up, I started to get more and more problems with it. And as with all addictions, you build up a tolerance. So it starts out with just getting one chocolate bar at lunchtime to getting, well, I get an extra just in case. And then you happen to eat that one too. And then you start getting them on the way home from school as well. So I was, strangely enough, I wasn't overweight. I wasn't skinny, but I guess I was moving a lot. And this just escalated. I played sports. I was very interested in that. I was interested in nutrition as well, and eating, obviously. So everything that had to do with sports and food, I was interested in. So I became a personal trainer and a diet advisor, and I was helping other people lose weight and get fit. But I could see, for me, I thought I was eating healthy and I was just having a little bit of sugar on top. So it doesn't really matter. That was kind of my excuse. It doesn't matter because I'm eating healthy. I'm not fat. I'm exercising a lot. I'm doing fine. But, when you're thinking about how much I was eating, it was like you walk around in this, almost like with your head in the cloud. It's like you eat a couple of chocolate bars, then you go to the gym, do your thing, then you eat another couple, then you come home and you might have some cake or whatever. And you kind of forgot about those chocolate bars that you had earlier in the day because they were such a long time ago. But I would wake up every morning, and I think it was a combination of my diet and probably exercising a lot because I did a lot of group classes as well. I was so stiff. Like it felt like I was 80 years old and I was always tired. But when I went to uni and I was studying for my master's degree in nutrition, I stopped going to the classes, not because I wasn't interested, but because I was falling asleep during every single class, even when I just loved it. I could not stay awake. I had to do something constantly. I had to move, or I would bring like a box of grapes or something so I could sit and eat something constantly just to keep myself awake. Wow. And that's not normal. And I just thought it was something wrong with me, like my physiology or something. And being a nutritionist, I wanted to solve the problem. So I was trying all sorts of things. Oh, it must be a mineral deficiency or a nutrient deficiency. So I tried to correct everything. And then I read I can't remember her name, but it's a book. It's a woman who's written it. And it's about how to balance brain chemicals with amino acids. So I started taking different amino acids to try and deal with it that way. It had absolutely no effect on me. I'm not saying it doesn't for other people, but for me, no way. And this was kind of going on and on and on until I thought I solved it with a ketogenic diet. So cutting out the carbs, I managed to actually not have too many cravings. And I can't remember exactly how long I was doing it for, but probably a couple of months. And at the time, I was also working extra one evening a week, I think, in a bakery. And I could actually do that without stuffing myself. And I was like, hell yes, this diet really works. This is what I have been missing. I just need to be on a low-carb diet. Until you get hybrids and you think, like, yeah, I got this. So I had like one praline and that went really good. I was like, hell yes, I can do this. So the next time I went to work, I had another one. And that led to 3 or 4, maybe 5, I can't even remember. And off I go again. So that was sort of disappointing because I thought I had found my solution. But so for, I don't even know, maybe 10, 15 years, I was on and off the ketogenic diet to keep my sugar addiction under control. And what's happening is that I think a lot of keto or low carb people probably recognize this, but when you start such a diet, the first thing you do is you go and find out what desserts can I have. So I was baking a lot of keto brownies and almost like bounty bars, like coconut with coconut oil and coconut cream, and you dip them in dark chocolate, and they're very low carb, and you just put some sweetener, and they were amazing. It was just a bit hard work to do. So I was making a lot of keto treats, and I had them every day. So the problem with this is that it's kind of not really satisfying. Your brain is like, okay, I got something, but I didn't get what I was asking for. So first of all, you're just reinforcing this behavior that I need to get rid of by eating treats. And now I can eat even more of them, and I can do it with a good conscience because they're low carb, so no problem, right? Mm-hmm. So I kept doing that for a very long time. And I can't. So this must have been about maybe 6 years ago now. I was, this just went on, and I've been doing lots of things. So I was training to become a coach, and I was doing other things and getting into all those kind of things. And I decided to get my own coach. So I hired a coach, and I had no idea that she had experience from helping people stop overeating. And that wasn't applicable to me anyway, because that wasn't my problem. But I saw her material, I read her book, and I was like, that's really, really cool. And I still didn't make the connection between what she was teaching and sugar addiction, because she was just talking about stop overeating. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, but that's not my problem. And I think it probably took me like 8 months with my head in the sand before I was like, maybe I should try this for my sugar addiction. Maybe it works. Because at this point, I've just given up. It's like, there is no solution for me. I'm just going to have to battle this my whole life. And I actually took a couple of weeks off work, and I was like, the only thing I'm going to do this. I'm going to do exactly what she's talking about, everything. And magic, it works. Like it's so simple when you do it, and that's probably you don't want to do it. But it worked. But the thing is that you need to keep up with it. You can't just do it once or twice and expect it to work forever. So so that was about maybe 6 years ago, maybe 5.5 years ago, something like that. And since then, it's been a different kind of journey, which has been finally knowing what to do, but having that resistance to doing it. So I've been off of sugar for longer periods of time. And then because I'm in control, I can decide what I want to do. And today I want to have ice cream or whatever. Sometimes successfully, just having the amount that I planned for, and sometimes not so successfully and having a 2-week binge or whatever. And I always said, I want to learn to not want sugar anymore, because in the back of my head, I still want it. And I think, touch wood, I genuinely feel like a few months ago, something shifted in my brain. I don't even know what it was. Maybe it's just the persistence of keep doing this for several years now. But I just felt like I'm ready, and I don't actually want it. Sometimes I doubt myself still, because I have thoughts like, oh, I really, really, really do want some ice cream today. But they go away quite quickly, and I'm like, yeah, I actually don't want ice cream. So I think I'm finally almost there. I think this is something that you always have to be conscious about, something that you have to keep practicing. And especially if there's something stressful in your life, you need to kind of stay on top of things to make sure that you keep doing it. But for once in my life, my persistence and not giving up and keep using the tools that I had have actually paid off. And that's why I said, like, touch wood, because it's hard for me to believe that I'm not going to have sugar again. I mean, I might have it, but not the way that I have been having it. So yeah, it's possible. It's just not. It's not as quick as you would like it to be. And I think, I don't know, maybe you can give me your opinion on this, but I think that sugar addiction, or any sort of food addiction, is kind of a little bit more challenging than many other addictions, because you have to eat. Mm-hmm. And at least eating triggers me every single time. I always want something sweet. So if I'm fasting, I don't have the cravings, but as soon as I eat, I get the cravings.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Well, congratulations. That
Thank
I
you.
admire you, because overcoming that is so hard. And it's like this secret little vice that I feel like 90 something percent of people have it, because when I look at my life and when I look at others, I can see the way that sugar is just there in all of our lives. And it's like the way that I will sometimes binge out on sugar too. It's kind of
Yeah.
gross, and it's so different than like alcohol or drugs, because that's just so like, it's so prevalent, and like its effects are like, I don't know, it's just different, I guess. And this one is like the silent killer with all those diseases and
Yeah.
everything. I have a question. What was the methods that your coach taught you?
Okay, so this is, I mean, for those listening now, like really listen and take this in because it's really simple to do. So, what you need to do, first of all, you need to just become aware of what's going on because so often we just walk around in la la land and pretend that we don't know what we're doing. And there is a reason for that. We have like a primitive part of our brain that will take care of things that, brushing your teeth, those kind of things that we do on autopilot. So that one will always kick in because then you can just go and grab that chocolate or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to kind of start using our prefrontal cortex. So that's kind of the conscious part of our brain, the part that makes decisions, to start noticing our behavior and what is happening. So when you do that, you can identify the triggers. And this can be anything. So for me, that would be eating will always be a trigger for me. It would be either walking past the shops or maybe walking inside of the shop. That would get me thinking, oh, I need to go and get this. It could be something like a smell. You can just smell some freshly fried donuts or whatever. So it can be anything. It can be something someone says, or it can be a place where you once, maybe when you were 6 years old, had this really awesome pastry and you just get that memory and you crave it all of a sudden. So it can be almost anything. So you just need to identify that because when you know what your triggers are, you can be prepared because you know that, oh, I'm going to walk past the shop, so this is going to happen. And then it's so much easier to deal with. But what happens when we're triggered is also that we have thoughts. So it can be a really good idea to identify those thoughts. And they're not necessarily very complicated. I thought they must be super complicated because they're obviously talking me into engaging in this very weird behavior that I don't want to engage in. But it's usually just like, I want chocolate or I need something. Ice cream would be great. Very, very simple. So simple that it feels a bit silly that we're actually reacting to them. And then the third part you need to pay attention to is how this feels in your body. And I struggle with this one, but I have a few things that I can say happens almost every time I have a craving. So the first one is like I get a little bit of tension in my jaw and I just start salivating like a dog. And it's not like it's overflowing, but I can feel myself salivating.
I can
And when
feel
you're
it.
aware of it, yeah, it's really weird. And then I usually get a little bit tense, around, I guess it's around my sternum, maybe my solar plexus a bit. It's like I'm expecting some food to come down that way or whatever. I have no idea, but that's all I can get. But some people just feel like their whole body is just getting really tense and they get taken over by some external force or whatever. So I've had people telling me all sorts of things. So that's kind of interesting. So you have 3 different ways of now identifying when this craving is coming on. And then what you do, this is the part that you're going to resist, that I have resisted so many times. It's like, okay, I've identified it all now, and now I'm going to go and have it anyway. And that's not going to work. So what you need to do is just sit with that craving, because now you know what it feels like in your body. And this is key, if you write it down on a piece of paper, you don't have to keep the paper, you don't have to write a lot, just write like, I'm salivating, this feels here, I can feel it here, this is how it feels. by doing that, you're sort of separating yourself from the emotional aspect of the craving.
Oh, wow.
So it's more like you're watching it from the outside. As soon as I do that, my craving go away really quickly. Some people would have to sit with it a little bit longer. But you can also just sit with it and feel it. Like, okay, this is how it feels. And if I was telling you, hey, Melanie, I'm salivating a bit and I feel a bit of tension here in my, solar plexus. And I really, really, that makes me really, really need that ice cream. You're going to be like, what? It's kind of incomprehensible how that feeling in my body would want me to eat the ice cream, because you're not connected to emotionally. So if we can just get ourselves to that place, it's so easy to actually deal with it. Is it going to work 100% of the time? Probably not, especially not in the beginning, but it does work. And when you practice that a few times, you will kind of get into it. You would know how it feels. You would know how it feels when the craving goes away. And it's just, it's amazing. I don't know, it took me several months to believe that it could be this easy. And it's weird that it's so easy, because I've tried everything, or I thought I had tried everything, and nothing ever worked for me. So that's literally all you have to do. Identify the triggers, identify what you're thinking, identify what's going on in your body, write it down, and just allow the craving to be there. So we don't want to sit and think, oh my God, can't you go away now? Because then we just get angry and it's going to come back and be much, much stronger. Yeah. And we usually give in. So just be kind of okay with having the craving when it can just be there. You don't have to eat or go and get whatever it is because you have a craving. You don't have to do anything. You just have to see it as a science experiment. Look at yourself. You're the subject, and you're engaging in this strange feeling because you had a thought about something. So it's actually, it is simple, but not easy to do, shall we say.
Yeah, I can relate. And it's very similar to what I feel like I had to do with my alcohol addiction was, like learning the triggers and feeling the cravings and then sitting with them. And I started writing a lot more, and that helped so much. And that's interesting that you said that, because for me, it was just writing like poetry or music, but it was me transferring those uncomfortable feelings onto paper. And I didn't realize that I was detaching myself from the feeling. It was just like, this feels good. Like this is helping, at least with the cravings.
That's amazing. Yeah. I'm going to start using that example with my clients, because that might help someone else more than what I'm doing if they're into writing music or poetry. That's brilliant.
Yeah, you should. It's very like you're being honest, or you can express it in whatever way you can. Because sometimes I can't be honest and just say like, "Oh, this is how I'm feeling," but I'll use like a metaphor or like something, or a story. My next question for you is, where did you get the strength to do that? Like, where did you get the strength to finally just say like, I'm just going to sit with this and not go for that next one, because there's like, it's interesting when I see how many people let their addiction like kill them eventually, and how many people do overcome their addiction. Like what is that difference, and where did you get your strength from?
I think it was a combination of getting so fed up with myself, not being able to control this, and finally seeing, having a little bit of hope that maybe what she's teaching can help me. And then once I noticed that it helped, I think that it all came from believing that I could do it. So I think for a lot of people, like, you have to try everything, like give everything a go, because if you haven't, then you don't know. But do it wholeheartedly. And that's why I took 2 weeks off work, because I thought it's never going to work if I'm at work and I'm stressing, etc. It might have, But now I could just focus on this. And I literally went up every morning and just read about it, prepared myself, made sure that I had the right foods so that I wouldn't go and get, hungry or cravings because I hadn't eaten enough. So I just kind of set up this security net around me at the same time. So it was like a project for me, like an interesting project. Did I believe that it was going to work for me? I honestly don't think that I really believed that it was going to work at the time when I decided to do it, but I decided that I need to try this as well, because I can't just leave this on the table, because what if it works? That could change everything for me. And I'm so glad that I did. Yeah. It's a shame that I delayed it for like 6-8 months, but I'm so glad that I did in the end. And yeah, so I don't have this like epiphany. I think it was just the ongoing battle of getting so fed up with myself that I needed to do this.
Yeah, it's like this desperation to like not be a slave, right?
Oh, yes.
This like feeling like where this thing is like controlling you. And that was for me too. It was like just the feeling of something being able to have so much control over me. It was what did it.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's a substance, it's sugar, it's a taste. I do not even know how it can have such control over us. And if I put my scientist hat on, I'm like, that is fascinating. That a whole, someone who has a brain and is fairly intelligent and should be in control of his body is not. It's someone is taking over and forcing me to engage in all these weird behaviors.
Oh, wow,
and it's the same for any addict. And that's something I think is important to kind of make that parallel, because there are people out there that they don't believe that sugar addiction is addiction. They think it's just bad, or no willpower or no discipline or whatever they actually think it is. But when you look at brain scans, MRI, you will see the same pleasure centers lighting up as it does with other addictions. You have the same response, obviously, to the dopamine and the dopamine receptors in the brain that you have with other addictions. I mean, some studies show that it's harder to quit sugar than many other substances. So what is the difference? Like, just because it's food. And I have no desire whatsoever to drink alcohol. I cannot understand how someone wants alcohol or how someone could be addicted to it. But I'm not going to say that, of course, you can't be addicted to alcohol, because it's clear to me that you can. And the same thing goes for all of these people that can actually eat food. Like, I say like normal people, but actually it's more normal to be abnormal in this case. But there are a bunch of people that just, they don't fancy the sweetness or the potato chips or whatever it might be. And they can't wrap their heads around it. But it's real. It's very freaking real.
Yeah. We all face our own, what is it, like masters or things that try to enslave us. My next question is, what message do you have for my listeners? And that pertains to your story of overcoming your addiction.
Okay, so you might think that you're like the outlier or the special snowflake that can't ever get there. And I totally understand why you would think that. And, it not even in my wildest dreams, like, could I ever imagine that I would be able to quit? But it is possible. And as I said, I have been in sort of control of my eating for several years before I made the decision to actually want to quit forever. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Like, I feel like I'm genuinely ready now, and I've never felt this before, because every time I've said that to myself before, now I want to not want sugar anymore. In the back of my mind, I've always had this voice like, no, you don't. You're just lying. That's not true. And this time it feels different. And I don't even know where it came from. But if you really do want to quit and you think that it is not possible for you, what I want you to do is like use the tools that I shared and try to do that. Or if you need to, get a coach. I also have a few ways that you can get help from me and my community if you want to do that. But get the support, because support is often quite crucial, especially in the beginning, I would say. So even if it takes you 5 years to do this, would it be worth it? I mean, my answer is just, of course. It's going to take me longer than 5 years to get to a point where I'm 100% like believing in myself and that I can stick with it. But what I do believe now is that I genuinely want to do it, and I'm doing great right now. And that feels like, it almost feels scary to say it, because it's like, oh, I'm jinxing it now. But I believe that anyone can actually do this. All you need is commitment to the process of trying to do it. So not commitment to actually quitting sugar, commitment to doing the things that I was talking about earlier. That's all you need. And then keep doing it. Even when you're falling off, just get back up, keep doing it, because it will pay off. Because every single time you're doing it, you're literally reprogramming your brain to respond to the cravings in a different way. So the more repetitions you get, the quicker it's going to be. And if that takes you 10 years to get to however many repetitions you need, so what? You're going to get there. And I really do believe that. So, yeah, it's not impossible. Just remember that you can do it.
Thank you. That hits home. I appreciate that. And lastly,
I feel emotional. I'm like, oh.
it is, because it's so real, and it's just, we all face some kind of, like, I think we all have secret addictions, and some people are more vocal about it and some people aren't. And yeah, it's just so real, and it's good. I appreciate you opening up and being able to share with us your own story. And it helps me when I'm in my process right now, and it's been a few months, and I do get those thoughts again, where it's like a habitual thought that just comes and goes and comes and goes. And I'm like, when is this ever going to be done? And then I find myself following the thought where I'm like, well, maybe I can have control if I try again. But
and it's really interesting that you say that, because something that I always tell people is like, I don't believe that the cravings are ever going to go away, but they're going to change. They're going to be more like thoughts that you don't pay attention to, rather than compulsive cravings. And that in itself is just such a relief. It's like, I have cravings and I don't care.
Wow.
And that's it's pretty cool that we can do that. Like, I don't have words for it. It's just like, wow. So go away? Probably not, but different. And much easier to deal with.
And I'm sure it's so empowering to be able to be like, I had the craving and I didn't fall for it.
Yeah, it's like, yes, that's me.
Hell yeah, you have no control over me.
It's it's like a little win every time. It's when you start being complacent and you're like, yeah, I got this, that's when you're going to fall off. So don't, just keep celebrating yourself every time you do it. I think that's the best way to kind of stay on track. It's like, yes, I did it again. I don't care if you have to celebrate like 15 times per day. Just do it.
Yeah.
Recognize what you're doing. Every single little win is getting you one step closer to where you want to be.
Oh yeah, that's huge. I feel like in the past I focused too much on my mess ups and not so much celebrating my successes. And now I feel like I've been more focused on just celebrating each day. And there's a huge difference. I think that's super important.
I think we should celebrate you today.
Ah, thanks, both of us.
Yes. Oh God, yes. Yeah.
That we can.
It's my birthday in 11 days, and this is the first year I'm not going to have any cake.
Oh wow!
Because I don't need it. I feel totally fine to not have cake. Other years, even when I've been off the sugar, I've been planning. I'm like, okay, well, it's my birthday. I'm going to have cake. This year, I feel a bit unattached to the cake. I've had one or two thoughts, but there's not going to be any cake.
Wow.
So
and you can
huge.
celebrate with other foods and
Yeah,
delicious foods and other ways of celebrating.
absolutely.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
Might go and get a massage or something if I'm allowed to. We're sort of red lights, traffic light system here in New Zealand, so I'm not sure I'm allowed to. But there are other ways to celebrate than using food.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're just thinking about food, it's hard to kind of imagine anything being sufficient and feeling like a reward. So sometimes, just kind of taking the time to take care of yourself, like depending what you're into, but maybe get like a manicure or lay in a hot bath with some candles and just listen to some nice music or whatever. Just like take care of yourself and make it a pleasant experience. In the beginning, when you're kind of quitting, you're not going to be able to enjoy those things so much. But as time goes and you're getting off the sugar, you're going to start appreciating other things in life a lot more. So that's where that kind of plays in. So something someone told me is like, make a list of like 20 things that you either enjoy doing right now or that you have enjoyed doing before. Because when you're in the moment, you're going to be like, oh, I don't know how to reward myself or celebrate. Just like go to your list, pick one thing. So I'm going to do this for me. And just recognize that you're worth it and you deserve to, the acknowledgement of what you've done and to be taken care of. Because the way I have been treating myself, I would never treat my dogs that way. Like, there's no way. I just treated myself so badly. Can't believe it. It's kind of embarrassing, but hey, what do you do?
Yeah, that's huge because when you're in an addiction and it can feel nice to indulge and like your pleasures receptors are just going off every time you're having your vice or your thing. But it's crazy how much of your life that robs because you might feel like just so good every time you're indulging, let's say like every day. And then when you stop doing that, and like you said, you start doing more self-care and you're rewarding yourself and you're doing all these different things, you're like, this is life. Like I've been missing out on all of this because I was stuck in that like prison cell.
Yeah.
But I thought I was happy in that. It felt good at the moment, but in reality, it was robbing life.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And it's sad. I have lost so much of my life to that. I've just been like this hamster in the hamster wheel. I've got things done, the things that I need to do, and the only pleasure is like eating.
Yeah.
I didn't like going out with friends. I could go, if I went to the cinema to watch a movie, it's like, yeah, I'm looking forward to the treats that I'm going to have when I'm watching the movie. Don't give a shit about the movie really, or being there with whoever I was being there with. So rather than having real life, connection with another person, it was just all about what am I going to eat when I'm there. And that's crazy.
Oh my God. Yeah. I can relate so much. That is so true. Oh, wow.
Yeah. I feel, when you're thinking about that, it's like my brain was totally effed up, and yeah. And so many people are there. And you see even with like the phone addiction, like people go to restaurants and everyone at the table sits with their phones. And you're like, hello, what are you doing? Like connect with each other. You're facing each other. Like, yeah.
I need to do an episode on that one because that one is, woof, it's got everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not immune to it, but when I am with other people, I don't touch my phone. I consciously just put it to the side and decide that I'm going to spend time with these people. But if I'm not consciously doing it, I'm kind of gravitating towards my phone as well. So something that we all have to watch out for and just be conscious of our behaviors. And just speaking of that, and by the way, I don't know if you noticed that when you were quitting alcohol, maybe you started getting drawn to doing something else. So I've had clients that they start quitting sugar and they might be drawn to playing more games on their phones or to porn or to something else. And I think a lot of alcoholics, they become sugar addicts because that's something else that they can do and put in their mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was so glad that you agreed to come on the podcast, because that is my thing that I went to after quitting alcohol.
Yeah. And it makes sense because you're drinking, oh, well, I'll put something else in my mouth. Easy to do. And that is never going to stop you from being in that prison. You're just going to go from one prison to another and still not being able to enjoy life. You might not die from a fatty liver, but you might die from diabetes. So it's like, which one do you prefer?
Neither.
Yeah, exactly.
Neither. I will not.
So just like pay attention to what's happening. And that's why I recommend that people do nothing when they have the cravings, like just let them be there. Because there's so many tips online and you can do it. You can kind of change it for a different habit. But one woman once told me, yeah, when I'm having a craving, I think she said, I'm going for a bath. And I'm like, what if you have 10 cravings a day? You're going to live in the bath. So it's kind of not practical. Or taking a walk around the block or doing a push-up or whatever it is. And that might be great to distract yourself. But the problem here is that if you're distracting yourself, you might not be able to feel the craving and allow it. So once you stop doing it, because you're probably not going to keep doing that the rest of your life, you haven't really learned what you needed to learn and you're going to fall back in. So I always recommend people to just, take a moment and let it be there. Then you can go and do your push-ups. If you want to do more push-ups, it doesn't matter. But don't forget about that part.
Yeah. It's like doing that is like you're just relying on your own self to be like, I don't need anything to get me through this uncomfortable feeling. I just need me right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get through it.
Yeah. And we're so resistant to feeling uncomfortable. And I am.
Yeah.
I mean, my triggers, my emotional triggers, because I never knew I was an emotional eater until I realized that boredom and procrastination is kind of also feelings, or the feeling that comes from procrastinating, or the other way around. So as soon as I don't really know what to do, or I don't have, it feels too hard to start doing some project or whatever, I'm out looking in the cupboard. Why? Because I'm uncomfortable with that feeling. So just like suck it up, learn how to feel it. Do the same thing as you do with the feelings of the craving. Just feel how does boredom feel in my body? Let it be there and don't go to the cupboard. That's it. So that's, there's a lot of work because no one is teaching us how to feel feelings.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at it. I struggle. I'm like, well, everything kind of feels around my solar plexus. It's just different tensions and maybe a little bit further up, a little bit further down. But start paying attention to, your body, because so often we think we're just a mind. But I think we need to see what's happening physiologically because they're connected.
Yeah, that definitely takes mindfulness and self-awareness.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you again. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Just like, I don't know. It's, I can't convince you that you can do it. But what I can say is that if someone had told me when I was in my late teens or early 20s that it is possible, this is what you need to do, I would have tried it. And that's all I'm asking, like, try everything. Even if you don't think that it's going to work, like, set your mind to it, to try it, because you never know. And if you haven't tried, you definitely won't succeed. And I want this for you, and I want this for me, and I want it for everyone, because it's no way of living your life. It's not living your life. It's just wasting your life, in my opinion. So just try things. Yeah.
Thank you. And so you are a coach helping clients overcome. Is it just sugar addiction or is it any kind of addiction?
Well, I'm a life coach, so I apply it to overcoming sugar addiction.
Oh,
Now, I'm also currently working with people who are very distressed about the situation in our country, like the corona crisis, and they've lost, mandates, they lost their jobs, etc. So I'm doing a few things, but my real passion is obviously with the sugar addiction, and I know that I can help people doing that. And I think also from a very selfish point of view, when I'm helping my clients, they help me.
mm-hmm.
Because some of them are doing so much better than I did at that stage. Like they're just like swishing through it. Some of them are struggling. So it's kind of different for everyone. But every time I see them do something, it kind of inspires me to stay on the track and keep doing what I'm doing and maybe think about things differently. And I'm getting like my own little aha moments. So it's mutual benefits, I guess. But I just love seeing people coming back and just like, I did it. I don't even have cravings. I'm not lucky you. But now we're going to create some cravings because you need to learn how to handle them when they come. So I'm a bit mean.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta be. That's coach.
But you need to practice. So the absolute number is probably different for everyone. But let's say you need to go through 10,000 cravings before you're there successfully. That's what you got to do. So the more cravings you can have early on, the better, the quicker you're going to get there.
Wow.
So, I just love it. I absolutely love helping people. It's so interesting as well how everyone is so committed when they talk to me. And then I have all sorts of people. Like the first session is usually fine. And then we have the people that they start ghosting me straight away because they've fallen off and they don't want to tell me. And then we have people that actually come to me because they're struggling. And then we have those that just like cruising through. And I'm like, I hate you. It's too easy for you. But you don't know until you're trying. I mean, I would have thought that I would be this one that struggled and just fell off. And I was kind of cruising in the beginning, I think. It's when I got too confident in myself and my ability that I fell off. And that's probably going to happen to everyone. And I want you to know that that's kind of part of the journey. I don't think you can go from being a sugar addict to being perfect without falling off X number of times. It's just not going to happen. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there again.
No, it's okay. It's important to reiterate that message. I think that we will fall off and it's important to continue to fall off. And that was a huge part that I took away from what you said today, was that it's important to have that repetition of like falling off and then getting on. And for me in my journey and with other things that I've tried to stop too, I would beat myself up from falling off and think that I was so weak for falling off. And then, and I would just kind of give up. And then here I go, I'd pick myself back up like months or even years later to keep going. And now I'm learning that it's part of that. And it's continuously repeating that cycle. And that's what makes it stick. Instead of just like not having the craving, whatsoever. It's learning to fall, come back. Learn, fall, come back.
Yeah. I mean, how are you going to learn if you're not failing? That's how we learn. So the next time, maybe you won't fall off for the same reason. Maybe you fall off for a different reason. And then you learn that lesson. And then you can fall off for a third reason. And then you learn that lesson, etc. So it's just something that you have to do. It's something you have to go through, and it's fine. But we can't use it as an excuse to stay off. Like, once you got off, analyze what's happened, and then get back on. And use the knowledge. And don't stick your head in the sand. That's a dangerous part. If we choose to do that, then we don't learn anything from the experience.
Because real life is waiting.
Yep, yes. For sure.
Always. All right. So where can my listeners get in touch with you if they have any questions or would like to hire you as a coach, learn more about you?
Okay, so depending on, what sort of help they want. So first of all, I have a semi-large Facebook group. I think it's like 1,600 members or something like that. And it's called Life Without Cravings. The support that you will get in there is like amazing. My members are just the best. They're really kind and helpful. So if I'm not there to kind of talk to you and help you if you have any questions or any struggles, there will be other people that just hop in and share their experience. So that's kind of amazing. Nice. So if you're looking for community and just that sort of support, you should probably go there. I have just started a TikTok channel of all things, try to share very quick tips and thoughts about sugar addiction. I need to work on that a little bit because getting a message in 60 seconds is really hard.
Oh, I can imagine.
I'm going to admit, I felt really awkward recording them. And when I'm watching them back, I'm not really happy with them. But I'm working on it. Mm-hmm. I also have a YouTube channel where I put out the same videos and other videos as well. But I'm mainly doing interviews with other people there. But there are a few videos on sugar addiction there as well. So it's not entirely for that purpose. So the TikTok channel is actually called crush_sugar_addiction. My YouTube channel, you can just search for my name, Pim Johnson, and you will find it. And the banner will say low carb ancestral living. So that's what I'm calling that. Or if you feel like, oh my God, I need to do this and I just want to get some help and I need a coach and you want to coach with me or talk to me about how I can help you in any other way, or if you have questions for that matter, like feel free to just message me. So that's pim@pimjohnson.com email. So that's, plenty of ways.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I am so blessed and grateful to be able to experience life now and like be able to do this and connect with someone who's all the way in New Zealand and just talk about how we're overcoming our struggles and experiencing and finally living our lives and not being slaves to our demons.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so great.
Yeah.
I'm just like a kid in the candy store of all things. So I was going to say that, but yeah.
Yeah, it is a similar feeling now. It's the feelings that we were looking for that I was like finding in trying to look for in the bottle, never found, is like I'm finally starting to find it. And it's joy. It is joy. It's not just like temporary happiness. It is joy.
Yeah. Can I say one last thing?
Absolutely.
When you said that. So a very good thing that someone, I can't remember who said that to me, but when you are engaging in any addictive behavior, you will feel pleasure. But it's a false pleasure because it always has a downside. But life in itself is pleasure without the downside. And that's something they have to keep in mind. So if you think you're kind of unsure about whether it's an addiction or not, then look at, does it have a downside? So that can probably happen with things that you think are good as well, like exercise. It makes you feel pretty good. But if you're overdoing it, if you're getting addicted to exercise, it's going to have a downside. You're going to get injured, you're going to get sore, etc. So it should be obvious, but it isn't. So that's kind of a good definition, I think.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. I just started thinking of all these other things in my life.
Yeah. Now you're going to be, shit.
But that's good though. That's good to point those out. That's a good one. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm like, how do I wrap this up? But yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. And yeah, I hope to stay connected with you, and I'm rooting you on your journey and everything you're doing in your life.
Thank you.